Nikki Glaser didn't get invited back to host the Golden Globes by playing it safe. Her comedy has always lived in uncomfortable spaces, the kind where people laugh and then immediately wonder if they were supposed to. So when she returned for a second year, the expectations weren't just higher, they were heavier. By that point, Nikki knew exactly how the room worked. She knew which faces could take a hit and which names carried silent warnings. Awards shows look glamorous on the surface, but behind the smiles is a carefully protected hierarchy. One wrong joke can turn applause into instant backlash. That's what made this year different. Nikki wasn't just trying to be edgy. She was testing the invisible limits of Hollywood itself. Every line was weighed, not for laughs, but for consequences. And as confident as she was, even she knew some truths hit too close to home. Because once you start joking about age, power, and who gets protected in this industry, things get dangerous fast. The Brad Pitt joke that almost broke the room, the joke that made Nikki hesitate, wasn't loud or aggressive. That's what made it so risky. It was aimed straight at one of Hollywood's most protected figures, Brad Pitt, and it cut right into an uncomfortable reality the industry pretends doesn't exist. The setup was simple. When men in Hollywood hit their 60s, they're suddenly allowed to become action heroes, race car drivers, and leading men without anyone blinking an eye. But for women, once they pass a certain age, the roles dry up fast. They're pushed into the same tired boxes, playing characters who feel worn down before the story even starts. The contrast wasn't exaggerated. It was painfully accurate. Because once you joke about someone like Brad Pitt, you're not just making fun of a movie. You're poking at the rules that keep certain people untouchable. And Nikki knew that once that line crossed her lips, there would be no taking it back. Sean Penn and the joke she almost regretted. If the Brad Pitt joke was dangerous because of what it exposed, the Sean Penn jokes were risky for a completely different reason. Sean Penn isn't just another nominee. He's known for being intense, unpredictable, and not exactly famous for laughing things off. Nikki and her team had multiple jokes lined up for him. Not career-ending hits, but sharp observations about his look and presence. The kind of jokes that land hard when the person in the room takes themselves seriously. One focused on his permanently strained neck veins. On paper, it was classic roast humor. But standing on that stage, Nikki felt the pressure shift. She wasn't worried about the audience laughing. She was worried about what would happen after. Because when you stack jokes on someone like Sean Penn, it stops being playful and starts feeling personal. So she pulled back. She kept just one joke and let the rest die quietly backstage. Not because they weren't funny, but because she didn't want to turn the room against her before the night had even warmed up. And that hesitation said everything. In Hollywood, it's not always the sharpest jokes that get cut. Sometimes it's the fear of who might be offended next that decides what survives. The joke that would have set social media on fire. Then there was the joke Nikki knew wouldn't just upset the room, it would explode online. Because this one wasn't about a single celebrity. It was about an industry already on edge. The target was Sydney Sweeney, but the joke wasn't really about her. It was about Hollywood's growing panic. Theaters sitting empty. Studios throwing money at projects that quietly disappear. Nikki had a line ready that tied all of that together, pointing out how a movie could generate non-stop conversation and still barely make a dent at the box office. So the next time an award show feels carefully scripted or unusually tame, remember this. The sharpest moments might not be the ones you hear. They're the ones that never made it past the rehearsal. The jokes that revealed too much about how Hollywood really works.